Nana and her best friend, Chisom, had been inseparable since childhood. They grew up together in their village before moving to Jos, Nigeria, in search of better opportunities. Sharing a small apartment, they both worked at a local salon, earning just enough to sustain themselves. Life wasn't easy, but they had each other. Lately, however, Nana had noticed a change in Chisom. She spent more time on her phone, giggling at messages and taking late-night calls. At first, Nana thought nothing of it, but soon, she realized her friend had become completely absorbed in her online conversations. One evening, as they sat on their small mattress after a long day at work, Nana finally spoke up. "Who is this man you keep chatting with?" she asked, folding her arms. "And why is he sending you money?" Chisom smiled, her eyes lighting up. "His name is Dave. He lives in Lagos. We met on Facebook." Nana raised a brow. "And you trust him just like that?" "Why not?" Chisom shrugged. "He's kind, sweet, and always checks up on me. He sends me money without me even asking." Nana wasn't convinced. "And what do you know about him, apart from the fact that he claims to live in Lagos?" Chisom hesitated for a moment before replying, "Well, not much, but he wants something serious with me. He even wants us to meet in person." Nana's stomach tightened with unease. Something about this didn't feel right. One evening, as they were sitting in their one-room apartment, Nana watched as Chisom's phone screen lit up again. A notification from Dave popped up, and Chisom quickly went to the table to pick up the phone, smiling. "Chisom, I still don't understand how you trust this guy so much," Nana said, folding her arms. "You barely know him." Chisom sighed, rolling her eyes. "Nana, you worry too much. Dave has been nothing but kind to me. He sends me money, checks up on me every day. What more do you want?" "I want to know why a man you've never met is suddenly so generous," Nana replied, her tone sharp with suspicion. "Has he asked you for anything?" Chisom hesitated. "No, not really. He just wants to see me." Nana shook her head. "And you're planning to go?" Chisom hesitated again, then nodded. "Yes, Nana. He invited me to Lagos. He even offered to pay for my flight." Nana's heart skipped a beat. Something about this didn't sit right. "Chisom, are you seriously considering this? What if he's not who he says he is?" Chisom sighed, standing up. "Nana, not everyone is bad. Just because we hear stories of scams and kidnappings, doesn't mean everyone is like that. I believe Dave is different, but you don't even have his full name. Do you even know his workplace, his family, anything beyond his sweet words?" Chisom bit her lip but said nothing. Nana didn't push the issue further. She didn't want Chisom to think she was jealous, but deep down, she wasn't comfortable with this so-called Dave. Something felt off. Still, she kept her thoughts to herself and watched as her friend became more invested in this online relationship. Days passed, and Chisom's lifestyle began to change. She suddenly had money to spend, rocking the latest outfits, buying designer shoes, and even gifting Nana cash from time to time. Dave sent me another package, pulling out a sleek designer handbag. Chisom beamed one evening. "He just wants me to look good, babe." Nana forced a smile, but her unease grew. It wasn't just the gifts, it was how little Chisom actually knew about this man. Every time she asked for details, she got the same vague response. "He's a nice guy, Nana. Nothing bad is going to happen," Chisom assured her, rolling her eyes. "But you've never even seen him in person," Nana pointed out. "Do you even know what he does for a living?" "He has businesses," Chisom said dismissively, flipping through her phone. "He's always busy, but we'll meet soon." Nana sighed, feeling helpless. She had a bad feeling about this, but what could she do? Chisom was convinced she had found love, and no amount of caution could change her mind. Then, one night, something strange happened. Chisom received a phone call while Nana was in the room. At first, she was all smiles, but as the conversation went on, her expression changed. Her hands trembled slightly as she clutched the phone. Nana noticed. "What is it?" Chisom hesitated, then forced a laugh. "Nothing. He wants me to come to Lagos this weekend." Nana's heart skipped a beat. "To do what?" He says he wants to see me. He's even sending money for my flight. Nana stared at her friend, her unease now a full-blown alarm ringing in her head. Chisom, she said carefully, are you sure about this? Chisom hesitated, her excitement dimming for the first time. Of course. I mean, why wouldn't I be? Despite Nana's efforts to convince Chisom to take things slow, her friend was determined to go. She had made up her mind, and nothing Nana said could change it. Realizing she couldn't stop her, Nana did something in secret. Before Chisom packed her final items, Nana scribbled a note, folded it, and slipped it into the inner pocket of her friend's bag. I love you, Chisom, and I pray Dave is really a good guy as you claim. She also wrote her phone number underneath, just in case. The next morning, Chisom left for Lagos, excitement bubbling in her voice as she hugged Nana goodbye. I'll be back in a few days, she assured her. Stop worrying so much. Nana forced a smile, but as she watched her friend board the taxi to the airport, an uneasy feeling settled in her chest. Chisom arrived in Lagos later that evening. The city lights dazzled her as she walked out of the airport, scanning the crowd for Dave. Then, she saw him, a tall, well-dressed man in his late 30s, holding his phone while looking around. When their eyes met, he smiled and walked toward her. Chisom, he said warmly, you're even more beautiful in person. She blushed. Thank you. He took her suitcase and led her to his car, a sleek black SUV with tinted windows. Chisom couldn't help but admire how expensive it looked. The ride to his house was quiet but smooth. Dave made small talk, asking if she was comfortable. He spoke with confidence, like a man who knew exactly what he wanted. When they finally arrived at his house, Chisom gasped. It wasn't just a house, it was a mansion. The gates opened automatically as they drove in, revealing a massive compound with neatly trimmed lawns and a breathtaking building. Wow, Dave, this is beautiful, she whispered. Dave chuckled. I'm glad you like it. Welcome to my home. As they stepped inside, the luxury stunned her even more. Marble floors, gold-accented furniture, and dim, elegant lighting. But something felt off. Despite the mansion's size, it was eerily quiet. Chisom glanced around. You live here alone? Dave nodded, locking the door behind them. Yes, no friends, no relatives, just me. Chisom's heart skipped a beat. She smiled nervously. Not even a housekeeper? He shook his head. I prefer my privacy. Something about the way he said it sent a chill down her spine. Chisom reassured herself that everything was fine. Dave was rich, generous, and charming. She had nothing to worry about. She was just here to enjoy her stay with her new boyfriend. Meanwhile, back in Jos, there was another person drowning in pain. Jude. Jude had been Chisom's boyfriend before she met Dave. When she told him it was over, he had begged, pleaded, and even promised to do better. But her mind was made up. I've outgrown you, Jude. You can't give me the life I want. Those words shattered him. Jude had never been a heavy drinker, but in the days after she left, he found himself at the bar more often than at home. Alcohol became his escape, though it did nothing to ease the ache in his chest. He had truly loved her, but now, she was gone. In Lagos, Chisom was living the life of her dreams. Dave treated her like a queen. Expensive dinners, shopping sprees, weekend getaways. Everything she had once only seen in movies was now her reality. She had never experienced this kind of baby girl treatment before, and it felt like heaven. Every morning, she woke up in silk sheets, stretched lazily, and smiled at the sight of designer clothes neatly arranged in the closet Dave had prepared just for her. She barely lifted a finger. Anything she wanted, Dave provided. Is this how rich men treat their women? She thought with a satisfied smile. She had struck gold, but deep down, something still felt off. Dave was kind, yes, but there were moments, fleeting moments, when his smile seemed forced. His eyes, though warm, carried a darkness she couldn't quite place. She shook the thought away. Nothing is going to happen. I'm just here to enjoy myself. If only she knew how wrong she was. Days passed, and she spent almost 2 weeks in Lagos. Then, she noticed that Dave was video calling another woman, and no, longer giving her the attention he once did. He started hanging out with friends, leaving her home alone. Chisom grew worried and decided to confront him one morning. His reaction left her stunned. He shouted at the top of his lungs, telling her to leave him alone. Chisom was taken aback by Dave's response. She had never seen him behave this way before. Chisom stood frozen, staring at Dave in disbelief. His outburst was completely unexpected. "What did I do wrong?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Dave scoffed, running a frustrated hand through his neatly trimmed hair. "Chisom, you're becoming annoying. I brought you here to enjoy yourself, not to monitor me. If you don't like it, you can leave." His words stung. This wasn't the same sweet, caring man who had showered her with gifts and attention just weeks ago. Tears welled in her eyes, but she held them back. She wasn't going to let him see her break. "Is there someone else?" she dared to ask, her voice shaking slightly. Dave chuckled, shaking his head. "Do you think you are the only girl in the world? You should be grateful I even chose you." That was it. That single statement shattered whatever illusion she had built about him. Chisom felt her stomach drop. She had left everything behind. Her life, her job, even Jude, all for this. She turned away, storming into the bedroom. She needed to think. What was she supposed to do now? She had spent almost 2 weeks in Lagos, living like a queen. But now, the reality was setting in. Dave was no longer interested in her. She thought about calling Nana, but she hesitated. She had ignored all of Nana's warnings. How could she now turn back and admit that her best friend had been right? As she paced the room, her bag fell to the floor, spilling out her belongings. And that's when she saw it. The small folded note Nana had secretly placed in her bag before she left Jos. "I love you, Chisom, and I pray Dave is really a good guy as you claim." Chisom picked it up with trembling hands. For the first time, fear gripped her heart. What if Nana had been right all along? She needed to get out of here. But something told her that leaving Dave's mansion wouldn't be as easy as walking out the front door, and she was about to find out why. That evening, as the golden hues of the Lagos sunset faded into darkness, Dave returned home with bags full of expensive gifts. "Baby, I'm sorry about earlier," he said smoothly, flashing his charming smile. "I was just stressed. You know how business can be. I didn't mean to snap at you." Chisom hesitated. The harsh words from that morning still stung. But as she eyed the designer handbags, perfume, and a brand new iPhone, her anger slowly melted away. "You didn't have to do all this, Dave," she murmured, but she couldn't hide the small smile creeping onto her lips. "I did," he insisted, stepping closer. "Because you mean a lot to me." He pulled her into a warm embrace, and Chisom sighed. Maybe she had overreacted. Maybe Dave was just going through something. "Come, let's eat," he said, leading her to the dining table. Unknown to her, this was all part of his plan. Dave had done this before, many times. Young, naive girls, drawn in by his wealth and charm, only to disappear without a trace. And now, it was Chisom's turn. That night, as she lay in bed beside him, her eyes grew heavy. She was more exhausted than usual, her body sinking into the plush mattress. Dave turned to her and smirked as he watched her eyelids flutter shut. The drug he had slipped into her drink was working faster than expected. Tomorrow, she would wake up in a place she never imagined, a place where escape was impossible, and by then, it would already be too late. Chisom's head felt heavy, her body sluggish as she slowly opened her eyes. The room was dimly lit, with only a single lamp. She tried to move, but her limbs felt weak, as though she had been drugged. This wasn't the bedroom she had fallen asleep in. The luxurious bed, the soft sheets, the city view all gone. Instead, she found herself lying on a hard mattress in a damp, unfamiliar room with bare concrete walls. A rusty metal door stood at the far end, locked shut. Panic surged through her veins as she sat up too quickly, her vision blurring for a moment. "Dave," she called out, her voice shaky. No answer. She reached for her phone, but it was gone. Her purse, her new iPhone, the expensive gifts, everything had vanished. Her heart pounded in her chest as she stumbled toward the door and banged against it. "Hello, is anyone there?" she screamed. Silence. Then, faint footsteps echoed from beyond the door. Chisom pressed herself against the cold wall, her breath coming in short, quick gasps. The footsteps grew closer, stopping just outside the door. The lock clicked. She braced herself as the heavy door creaked open. And there he was, Dave. But this wasn't the charming, sweet-talking man she had fallen for. His expression was cold, his eyes dark and unreadable. He leaned against the doorway, watching her like a predator observing its prey. "Good, you're awake," he said casually. Chisom's throat ran dry. "Dave, what's going on?" she whispered. A slow smirk formed on his lips. "You'll find out soon enough." Then, without another word, he shut the door and locked it again, leaving her trapped. Terror gripped Chisom as she realized the truth. She had walked straight into a nightmare, and she had no idea how to escape.